Donald. What?
What?
Nothing. I thought you said something. I could have sworn my wife just called my name, but she said she hadn't, so I presumed I must be hearing things. It was a normal day, a sunny day, and we had been married a year and just moved into our dream house. It needed a lot of work. It was old and run down, and that's how we were able to afford it. When the realtor explained to us that we might not want to buy it because the previous owner had died in the house, and his nephew had insisted that the place was haunted. We just laughed and shrugged our shoulders. Lots of people die in their homes. It didn't mean it was haunted, and besides, only cranks and oddballs believe in ghosts. We saw the house as a great project to get stuck into. 3 stories high, a tall imposing building with iron railings all the way around. It gave it an air of importance. It had been owned by a very important family in the town way back. The house was 200 years old and all it needed was someone to love it again. We were ready to give it the time and attention it needed. My earnings were pretty good, and along with my wife's, Ima, we would have enough each month to put by and spend on the house. I am a graphic designer and often work from home. We had so many plans for the place. I wanted to get the yard sorted out and grow a garden, and Ima was already hinting that one of the rooms on the top floor would make an ideal nursery. I would like kids one day, but not while the house was so unloved. So, we began making a start. It was a new town for us, and it was all incredibly exciting. We wanted to get to know the local community and become involved with them. Ima was into genealogy and history, and I knew she would be joining the library as soon as possible. I had ordered some lumber so I could make a start repairing the decking that went around the house. It looked like it had been gnawed by porcupines in places. If you weren't careful and went outside without a light source at night, you could easily break your leg. I told Ima that and she laughed, like my safety instructions were a joke. That annoyed me sometimes. We were newlywed and still getting used to each other, but she didn't have to laugh at everything I said. I chose to ignore her on those occasions. It was Saturday, so we had all weekend. That was the first weekend, though, when I thought I heard Ima say my name. The living room was crying out for the wallpaper to be stripped. Ima brought in her radio, hooked it up, and soon we had some cool music filling the air. We had a plate full of warm pancakes, balancing on the arm of the couch, and we were raring to go. "I'll start on this wall," I said, walking to the back wall of the room. It was the largest with the most paper, and I thought it would be nice of me to take the majority of the work away from my wife. "You start by the fireplace," I directed.
Ooh, I love this song.
Ima smiled, spinning around, filling the room with her presence and laughter. I was happy. Ima was happy. I started at the corner. The paper was stuck. I began soaking it with a sponge and warm water. I managed to get my scraper under the corner of the garish paper. It was covered in blue and white giant flowers, like some old person style. I got to the corner and lifted and pulled. To my delight, it came away in one swift movement. I stopped and looked. I was wondering what I was seeing. It was writing. It was definitely writing. "Hey, Ima," I said. "Ima, come here. Look at this." I moved closer to the wall. My eyes squinted as I tried to make out what the words said. The lettering was about 18 inches high and written with black ink. Some of the paper was still stuck over some of the letters, but as I peeled it away, I could make out the words. 2 words. 2 words written on my wall in black ink, and it didn't make sense. Evil One.
What is that?
Ima asked, with the same bewilderment as me. Evil One, I said. I had no idea what it meant, what it could mean, or who had written it.
Well, that's creepy.
Ima affirmed both our thoughts. Tell me about it.
I wonder who wrote it.
I wonder why they wrote it. I put my hand to my chin and pondered what it could mean.
Well, how long has the house been empty, darling?
Oh, about 1.5 years.
So kids could have got in, written it, mucking around.
Ima said, licking her fingers free of syrup. Under the paper, I asked, my eyebrows raised. Ima just looked at me. That had not occurred to her. Of course, it was beneath the paper, so it had to be written before the paper went up. Kids were hardly likely to come in, vandalize the walls, and then paper over them to make the words look authentically creepy. This was a mystery that I wasn't gonna let sit. I tried to shrug it off, but the words were bugging me. What the hell did that mean?
We bought London Bridge Pound Square.
The words from the radio jolted me from my thoughts. What's this about? I thought this station played nothing but back-to-back music, I asked. I was thinking Ima had sneaked it over to her favorite station.
They didn't say anything.
Ima laughed. She looked at me quizzically. I must have been dreaming, I said, shaking my head. The rest of the day passed uneventfully, and we went to bed tired and achy, but with a sense of achievement under our belts. I even managed to let the strange events of the day slip to the back of my mind. As I lay in the darkness, the moonlight's fingers lighting small portions of the room, I just could not drift off. I recalled the day's work and our plans for tomorrow. I was excited. I laid my head on the pillow, and then I heard plain as day. I bolted upright in bed. I grabbed my flashlight on the bedside stand and felt for the button, and I flashed that sucker all the way around the room. Nothing. No one. Again, I put it down to hearing things. I knew I was tired and possibly my brain was playing tricks on me.
Mama.
It was a child's voice now. This was weird. I checked on Ima. She was gently breathing and was asleep. I decided I have to check this out. I got up from bed and went downstairs to the lounge room and powered up the computer. Into the search engine I wrote, "Hearing voices at night." The page that appeared came up with over 56,000 entries. But of course, I was only interested in the first one. It basically said my brain was getting ready to be in a dream state. Well, that made sense. I researched further and found out about the hypnagogic state, where the brain is powering down and the person is in kind of a limbo between waking and sleeping. It just happens and there is nothing you can do about it. It's perfectly natural. I learned that when in this state, it is not uncommon to hear voices. Well, that reassured me. That put the nagging thought to bed. After I was done with the research, I went back upstairs and settled in next to Ima. I didn't hear another voice the rest of the night. Ima had gone to the library pretty early the next day and did some more research on the house. She wanted to decorate it sympathetically to how the people from the past would have decorated it. She even wanted to use authentic paints from the time. I sent her off with my blessing and began tackling the living room again. When Ima returned around 10 a.m., she brought in some groceries and started unpacking. She called out from the kitchen.
Hey, you'll never guess what this place used to be.
"No, go on, surprise me," I yelled back.
It was a hospital during the American Civil War. Then it became a hotel owned by this really rich European woman who came here to expand her wealth, Mrs. Elizabeth Garnett. She apparently committed suicide when she began losing money hand over fist. She inherited her wealth and she wasn't very good at her finances.
"Wow, that's interesting," I said, entering the kitchen to help her unpack the groceries.
Oh, there's more. At the turn of the last century, it became a hospital for TB patients, and also the top floor and annex, which burnt down in a fire in 1910, was a home for people with mental health problems.
"What?" I asked, frozen as I heard her words. "You mean a mental asylum?" Ima pursed her lips, then shrugged.
Guess so.
She said, completely relaxed about the idea. "Why do we not know all of this?"
The realtor asked us did we want to know the history. Remember?
"Oh yeah," I confessed. "So, you learned a lot this morning."
It doesn't take long. I was talking to the librarian too. Nice lady. Lived here all her life and she remembered this place from her childhood. She called it the haunted house on the hill.
"Oh, for Christ's sake, not that again," I laughed, biting into an apple in my hand.
It stopped being a mental asylum and TB hospital only in the 1950s after the fire. They uncovered mistreatment of the patients, abuse, some patients lying in their own filth, not being cared for at all. The authorities closed it down, and the director of the hospital, Dr. Andre Peterson, was jailed.
That was a lot of information. Still, I didn't believe in ghosts or the paranormal, and I wasn't bothered by the house's history. It just made it more interesting, was all. It's been 3 months and we have tried everything to try and stop the hauntings. At first, the voices had become clearer, louder. We even heard growls. Ima was frightened to go into the attic rooms. She felt there was an evil presence there. The voices seemed to know our names. We would hear them at random times of the day, and it scared us the way they spoke them. My name was dragged out like a whisper, but there was something sinister behind the voice. Sometimes Ima would get angry. It was affecting her mentally. She would start rocking and covering her ears with her hands, and then she would shout out,
"Go away! Just go away!"
And she would begin to cry, uncontrollably, crying like a baby, and I couldn't comfort her. We decided to sell, but the house had been on the market for a month, and no one had shown interest. We put crucifixes up all around the house, and they would swing to an upside-down position. We didn't like to go anywhere in the house alone, but of course, we had to be alone sometimes. Things moved on their own after 2 weeks in the house, and we began to hear footsteps, banging noises. I was still a skeptic at first, denying anything paranormal was happening. I blamed the voices on the radio, the bangs on the pipes. I wasn't going to readily admit we had ghosts. I was not going to admit I had been so badly wrong all along. The voices were affecting Ima more than me now. She said they told her awful things. They wanted her to kill me. They told her I was having an affair. She started to believe the voices over me. I would deny everything, of course.
Who are you seeing, Donald?
No one, you're crazy.
Why are there scratches on your back then?
She said in a tone so angry her voice got me defensive. Scratches? I was in disbelief.
Yes, Dawn, scratches.
She lifted my shirt so I could see my back in the bathroom mirror. Sure enough, there were 3 long scratch marks down my back. They looked old too, scabbed where the skin had been broken.
How do you explain that?
She walked off. I grabbed her arm. I have not been unfaithful to you.
Liar! They told me to look. They said you would deny it, and they said exactly what I would find on your back if I looked.
No, Ima, I'm not lying. I haven't lied. I wouldn't lie to you.
You cannot lie to me because your lies got found out, didn't they?
Tears were rolling down her cheeks now. Ima, no, darling, never, I protested. She ran from me. I decided then to chase after her. I had to explain to her that I knew nothing about the scratches, make her clear about my fidelity. I had to. She was the love of my life. She flew down the stairs into the kitchen. I approached slowly as I entered, trying to calm the situation down. I lowered my voice, spoke softly. Ima, I love you. Please believe me. I have never been unfaithful to you.
They told me where to look, Dawn.
And you believe them over me? That made her think a little. It was not rational for her to believe apparitions over me. I think I made a breakthrough. She wiped her eyes.
How did we get here, Donnie?
How could I not love her? She was beautiful. It's these spooks, darling. We have to fight them. I decided then and there I would get a priest in, a clairvoyant, a medium, anything it took. It was the first time I had admitted to her and myself that we had an infestation.
I thought you didn't believe in them.
I didn't.
But what, now they're a convenient excuse to stop the mad bitch that's accusing you?
I've never said that.
You didn't need to. My friends are telling me stuff that you won't.
Friends? Who? Which friends? I felt bewildered, but she smiled at me. It was a knowing smile, a smile that was not like a smile I've ever seen Ima give me before. She moved a little closer, and a word came out of her mouth that froze me solid and glued me to the floor. It wasn't Ima's voice. It was the voice of 2 or 3. They spoke in unison, and Ima's face was contorted as if she was fighting against this thing inside of her. I backed up, afraid. This could not be happening. What was this? Possession? This happened in the movies, not my home, not in reality. Ima came closer. Her breath was savage. Her eyes, now just glassy jet black voids, filled with hate, pierced my soul. I tried to move away from her, but already her hands were holding my arms down by my sides. Jesus Christ, the words just flew out of my mouth. She reached for the large chef's knife and the knife block, and I stood paralyzed, unable to believe what I was witnessing, unable to move. With her free hand, she hit me sideways, and I fell against the back door, breaking the glass and the panels. She had a strength that I knew was not hers. She was immensely strong. The knife was in her hand. She slashed and she stabbed, and I felt like I had been punched in the ribs. I looked down at my side in disbelief, and there was blood seeping out and being absorbed by my t-shirt. I clenched my side, and I felt something warm trickling down my left cheek. I felt my face. My fingers were blood-stained as I felt the laceration she had left. I had to get away. I had to run from her. I had to get my gun that was in the cellar. Ima was looking at me, laughing, snarling like a rabid hyena. I mustered my strength, and with adrenaline surging throughout my body, I made a dash past her. My right shoulder clashed against her body, and she fell to the floor. I knew this was no longer Ima. I stumbled against the cellar door, fumbled with the bolt that kept the door closed, and the panic was rising, and the blood was leaving me quicker than I cared for. I half tripped, half fell down the stairs, and I staggered over to the gun safe. My keys were in my pocket, thank God. I was fumbling again. Come on, I told myself. I got the key, and after what seemed like a lifetime, I opened the case as quickly as I could, and the gun was already loaded. I cocked the barrel and aimed at the stairs. My arms were not steady. The barrel of the gun was shaking. At the top, I saw her silhouette. She stood there, just looking at me or trying to see if she could see me in the darkness of the cellar. I was hoping she would go. She would turn and go. I was praying silently in my head, please God, please. But she didn't. She began descending the stairs slowly, deliberately. I held my aim. I had her in my scope. I knew I wouldn't miss her torso. Lord God, help me. I dropped the gun and ran to her side. I could barely hear her. My eyes filled with a huge collection of tears that spilled over onto her cheeks as I cradled her in my arms.
Dawn, what happened?
I shook my head. I don't know, my love. I could feel life leave her body as she went limp.
You killed her.
I heard a voice say,
Now kill yourself.
it was calm, matter-of-fact, commanding, authoritarian, evil. I made my way upstairs, leaving Ima's body in the cellar. I dialed 911 and called for an ambulance. The operator told me that they'd send help, along with the police. I ended the call and waited. They shouldn't be long. The voices are telling me they'll be here soon. They'll arrive before I bleed to death. I hope.
They'll be here soon, Dawn.
Ima?
Don't wait, Dawn. You'll have no life here. They'll arrest you for murder. They won't believe you, darling.
Of course, she was making sense. I don't know how, but she was warning me.
Dawn, you can't live without me. Now can you? I can't live without you. Please, they'll send you to your death. Come with me.
She was right. I stood up, although it was painful, and made my way down into the cellar, where I dropped the gun. I walked past Ima's body. Even in death, she was beautiful. I put the gun to my head. See you soon, darling.